Hey guys, welcome to the Pyramid Insider. I'm Tyler Patner. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Gamo Urban PCP. So the Urban's got a lot of features packed into a relatively inexpensive package. Let's check them out. Up front here we have the Whisper Maxim muzzle brake. Now they don't give a specific rating on how much noise this cuts, but I can tell you it does do some good, although the gun is not silent by any means, but I definitely consider it backyard friendly. Down below we do have our fill port here, and the gun of course comes with your traditional fill probe. Now this is threaded to 1/8 inch BSPP. You will need a male quick connect adapter if you have a male quick connect setup, or a female on the end of your hose I should say, but we do have a gauge on the front. The gun fills to 232 bar, so around 3300 psi, but very simple. Probe just goes in like that. Also comes with a little bit of silicone grease to keep those O-rings on your probe nice and lubricated, and every couple of uses it's good to put a little bit on there. And then we just put our cover back on. Very easy. So as you can see, the Urban is rear bolt operated. Simple pull back of the bolt there. Now, it's also a 10-round repeater, standard Gamo BSA magazine. One nice feature I do like on these mags, aside from being under spring tension so it automatically cycles without any extra mechanism here, this little white dot on the back of the mag. I like this a lot. Now what this does is actually tell you when you're out of rounds. So this white dot will pop up when you are empty. So all you have to do when you're looking through the gun, when you load your last round, oh, there's the white dot. I know I'm empty. Got to get the new mag or reload this one. That way you're not taking extra shots and wasting air. You can also decock the rifle very simply just by holding the bolt back, taking the gun off safe, and pulling the trigger. Hear that little click, just let it ease forward, and now you're safe. Manual safety up in front of the trigger here. I like this a lot. It's very easy to use. You just flick it forward with your shooting hand, your forefinger there, and you're good to go. Very easy, very simple. So speaking of the trigger, this is the CAT trigger, or custom action trigger. It is 2-stage adjustable. Out of the box, there's quite a bit of creep in that second stage, which is not something I like, but I don't like to adjust the triggers out of the box for the testing, because you guys should get a realistic experience for those of you that maybe don't want to work on it, or just so you know what to expect when it comes out of the box. Certainly not a bad trigger, but of course it could be better. Up top, we've decided to mount a UTG 4-16 SWAT scope here. Mil-dot reticle, but that 16X will give us a nice opportunity to actually see what we're doing downrange at 45 yards when we do the long-range testing. So I felt this was a good option and didn't throw the weight off too much, and I do like the side focus as well. And then on top we do have an 11mm dovetail also, and that is straight through. There is no cut for the breech or anything like that, so you got a straight rail. I prefer this actually where the magazine goes into the actual breech of the gun instead of splitting it. That makes mounting a scope a heck of a lot easier and gives you a lot more room to fine-tune the eye relief to what you need. The stock itself, full synthetic as you can see. Thumb hole design actually has a really nice feel. My hands aren't terribly big, but the pistol grip feels really nice in my hands, and you can see you got a little room there, so if you do have bigger hands, you should fit this gun fairly well. Raised cheek piece up here, which brings your eye into the scope really easily. And then rubber butt pad on the back, although it's not like you got a lot of recoil with this gun to contend with, but certainly pretty comfortable. Overall, about 6.5 pounds without the scope. It's a really nice gun, actually. I think just in terms of feel and, you know, maybe taking this hunting all day or something like that, this would be no problem. This is a gun you could just, you could just carry this thing around all day if you wanted to. It is very light, very pointable. It comes into the shoulder nicely. I like the feel a lot. And the synthetic stock, while being hollow, actually the lightweight is a feature I do like in this case. One other thing I do want to point out, right here on the side of the gun, says made in the UK. Now Gamo, being in Spain, also has a very close relationship with BSA, so I'm going to assume that this gun is actually made in the BSA factory. Whether or not all these parts are made in the BSA factory, I don't know, but certainly looks very akin to some of the other BSA rifles that have come out recently. So we'll go with it. But that would also mean potentially that it is a hammer-forged barrel from BSA, which we know are very, very accurate barrels. So I am very excited to see what this thing will do on the range with the accuracy. We've put about 15 pellets or so through this gun to see what is most accurate. We've narrowed it down to about 4 for you guys. So let's head out to the range. We'll do some chrony testing. We'll see how many shots you can get off of Phil. And obviously, most importantly, we'll see if she's accurate. Let's head out. Alright, so we got the Crowny set up, we got the Urban here loaded with 10 rounds. We're going to shoot the JSB 18 grain heavies. We're going to look for a shot string here, so see how many shots we can get off of fill. I'm expecting probably about 30 or so. With that 3,300 PSI fill being a little higher, you probably get a couple more. But let's see where that sweet spot is, where we're getting the best consistency. Let's see what happens. Reloading the mag, pretty simple. Pop your pellet in there and then rotate to the next slot. And if you lose your grip or something, once you have a pellet loaded in there, it retains itself, so it's not going anywhere. You don't have to rotate it all the way back. Now those first 10 shots, we started at about 750. We're just a hair under 770 now. Probably go up a little bit more. But you'll see that an unregulated PCP like this, you will get that initial climb if you go all the way to that full point. So we'll see what these next 10 do now that I got it loaded. So looking over our shot string here, pretty good numbers actually for starting at 3,300, kind of right where I expected. Once you hit about 3,000, 2,900 or so, starts to even out right at that 770 mark. Topped out at 785 it looks like, and we were down around 2,300 PSI right there. So it's using a lot of air over the course of the shot string. We end up cutting it off right about 1,500 PSI. So to be using pretty much 1,500 PSI for the consistent shot string, the consistent portion of the shot string, which is right about 22 shots, is pretty damn good. So, for 22 shots to go out hunting with a 15 foot per second spread between them, that's solid. That's not going to cause any point of impact changes or anything like that. So, pretty good numbers out of Gamo. That's a nice group. So pretty impressive results out of the Urban at 25 yards. Got the Air Arms 16 grain pellets. This is that's about as good as it gets. It's about a half a dime. The JSB 18s at 25 did pretty well also. I had that one sneak up high on me there a little bit, but overall, can't really complain. Flyer's a flyer. And then the H&M Field Target trophies, also very impressive. All these could be covered by a dime at 25 yards, so these will meet your pesting needs no problem. The Crossman Premiers, while they did okay, good enough for pesting, not good enough for 45. Let's see what we can do with the Gamo Urban at 45. Alright, so let's look at these 45-yard results. The H&Ns, like an inch and a quarter or so, not great. The air arms had that one flyer up high. Other than that, that would have been a solid group. Again, a little over an inch here. Best group of the day, though, by far. The JSB 18.1s did have that flyer right there. But all four of the shots here, very tight cluster, and it's still under an inch as a whole. So this is going to be the pellet I'm going to recommend for the Gamo Urban here. Those JSB 18 grains should do you quite well, and obviously you're getting pretty good energy out of them, and certainly squirrel's head worthy at 45 yards. So definitely a good option there. And at 25 yards, if you are a shorter range hunter, out to 30 or so, you got a lot of pellet options that'll work in this guns. £1 11 ounces. £1 11 ounces. £1 12 ounces. So very consistent. The one thing I will say, certainly doesn't feel that light. There's a lot of creep in that second stage if you watch here. Just a lot of take up and a lot of extra movement there. Which makes it a little bit difficult to get that nice and light feel, but I'm sure if you played around with the adjustment a little bit, you could get it into a nice comfortable place for yourself. So the Gamo Urban PCP, you guys have seen it. It's fairly consistent over the chronograph, consistent enough to get the job done downrange in the accuracy perspective, as you've seen. Relatively quiet. I'd say this is backyard friendly, although not as quiet as it could be potentially. The 232 bar fill, not a problem really. You don't have to go that high, as you saw. Actually, probably filling the 200 bar is going to maximize more of that sweet spot with your shots. But the fill system's relatively easy. Not a huge fan of the probes in general, just because it's O-rings, it's extra pieces. I'd prefer more companies start going just to the quick disconnect on the guns, but some of these things were never going to change. I really wish they did, though. Magazine system functioned flawlessly. Rear bolts pretty easy to operate, not too much tension with that hammer spring. And again, the Urban's really nice, really pointable. This is definitely going to be a hunter's delight type of gun. If you're in the market for a relatively inexpensive PCP to get the job done on a hunt, or pesting in the backyard, whatever you'd like to do, I think the Urban's going to be a really solid fit for that. That wraps it up for the Gamo Urban PCP in .22 caliber. For the Pyramid Insider, I'm Tyler Patner. We'll see you guys at the next one.